Good morning. Today on Spotlight, inside the race for Detroit mayor. With the primary election now in sight, candidates listed on the primary ballot are zeroing in on your vote and/or your support. In the Spotlight today, Detroit City Council President Mary Sheffield. And later on our Sunday morning program, Lansing pollster Bernie Porn on the mood of Michigan. It's Sunday, June the 8th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Madam City Council President, good seeing you. Thank you for coming in. You're doing well?
I am. Thank you for having me.
It's certainly our pleasure. All right, you're part of this group trying to become the next mayor of this city. Let's take a moment. You come from a background of religious, labor, and civil rights leaders. How has that prepared you for what you're doing now, or has it played a major role?
Oh, most definitely. It had a tremendous impact on me as a young kid. I remember vividly at the age of 10 years old, in my first protest at Fairlane Mall with my father. At 10 years old,
Okay.
Marching, no justice, no peace. And my father and my grandfather and all of the civil rights giants like Jesse Jackson and Dick Gregory and Al Sharpton, I grew up around as a young kid. And they instilled upon me the importance of advocacy, of mobilizing and organizing, and that when systems don't work, you change them. And that is one of the reasons why I decided to run for office, is because I understood that policy intersects with civil rights and social justice. And I didn't see myself in these positions, and I thought it was important for me to be the change that I wanted to see in politics and in local government.
You've been on the city council a little more than a decade now. You're the youngest person to be elected president of the council, but you're now trying to take that next step up. You've done a lot since you've been on the council, passed a lot of different legislation. What of the things you've done do you view, or do you want people to say that's the hallmark of Mary Sheffield's term on the council?
Yeah, I would say it would be the people's bills. And it's over 23 pieces of legislation that has directly impacted the quality of life for Detroiters. Anything from the inclusionary housing ordinance to right to counsel, which is a bill that gives free legal counsel to families who are facing eviction in Detroit, to the Detroit resident discount program, home repair grants, neighborhood beautification grants, property tax assessment ordinance. There has been numerous pieces of bills called the People's Bills that I sponsored that really came from the grassroots up. And I just didn't listen to what residents were saying. I made sure that I responded with direct policy. So that to me is the hallmark of my term. Serving on council is really the legislative accomplishment that I've been able to achieve.
What, if elected mayor of the city, what will be similar in your administration to Mayor Duggan's administration, and what do you think will be very different?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, Mayor Duggan has done a tremendous job at just ensuring that basic city services are functioning, that where business attraction is happening, that economic growth is continuing, and we're going to continue the momentum and the progress that we see in Detroit. But without a doubt, we know that our neighborhoods need more investment. They need more attention. We have to address the issue of housing and homelessness and poverty in Detroit and ensure that we're raising the incomes of Detroiters and providing good livable wage jobs here in Detroit, and ensuring that we are creating a good paying career, livable jobs for Detroiters to raise their incomes and move forward in building our middle class in Detroit.
People are attracted now to the city, particularly some of the key neighborhoods that you've talked about. How do you make sure that housing is affordable, especially for young people, which will be the future of this city, as well as almost rewarding seniors who have stayed with this city through the thick and thin when it wasn't, quote unquote, the chic place to be?
Yeah, so I'm very proud of what we have now in place, which is called the Inclusionary Housing Ordinance. And as new housing development comes to Detroit, a portion of that housing has to be set aside for low-income housing or affordable housing. I sponsored that ordinance, and it was one way to be intentional to ensure that as new development comes, that we're saving a portion of it to be developed for affordable housing. So I think we have to have intentional policies in place that ensure that as we're developing Detroit, that we are making sure that affordable housing is a priority. I also think we have to build more affordable housing and home ownership opportunities in Detroit. A lot of times we're talking about rental developments, but not enough about home ownership. And so my administration will be laser focused on how we ensure more paths to home ownership, how we are moving renters into home owners, and really getting back to a place of Detroit being a place of homeowners. As relates to our seniors, you know, I have been very, very focused on how we ensure that generational Detroiters, those who have been here for 30, 40 years, are protected and feel a part of the resurgence of Detroit. And so things like property tax reductions, home repair grants, I think are important. And we have to make sure that we have policies that are intentional at addressing and protecting those that have been here in the city of Detroit. I was very instrumental in creating the Legacy Business Program, which gives support and funding to legacy business in Detroit that have been here for 40, 50 years.
Okay, we need to slip a little pause for the calls, and we'll come back. We'll talk about safety and education and a few other things. We'll be right back.
All right.
Stay with us. The Run. It's gotten a lot of attention. This is part of your campaign ad. Why that approach, and what's been reaction to it?
So I have always prioritized health. I think, you know, we want to not only an economically sound and vibrant city, but we want a healthy city. So it was a way for me to promote health, but also show Detroit that this run that we are on in this race is literally not for me, but it's for Detroit. It's a city that made me and raised me, and I'm running for the people of the city to ensure that we all have a place where we can thrive and grow and have opportunity right here in this city. So we've got a tremendous amount of positive feedback, and I think it was just a different way to really promote the message of running for the people of this city and ensuring that everyone benefits from the growth of our city.
There have been great strides in terms of safety of this city over the last few years. Maybe, I mean, you can go back even further than that. I'm sure Mayor Duggan would say throughout his entire term. Yeah. And we want to acknowledge that. But certainly that's still something that, depending on what neighborhoods you live in, people are still concerned with. What will Mary Sheffield do different? You've been working on it with City Council, but as from the Chief Executive Office, what would be different?
Yeah, so again, I think we have to be very intentional at attracting and gearing neighborhood development in our communities. And so as we are doing neighborhood studies and strategic planning within our neighborhoods, getting a sense of what community wants and really being able to market those communities for development to come back into our neighborhoods, I think is important. One of the issues that we have, though, as it relates to neighborhood development is that it is extremely hard in Detroit to open up a business. So whether it's a restaurant, a grocery store, a coffee shop, all of these amenities that we want in our neighborhoods, if it's over, 182 processes in various departments and fees to start, oftentimes we lose business to suburban communities. And so my administration is going to be laser focused on how we make Detroit the best place in America to grow and start a business, which also contributes to the growth and revitalization of our communities. I'm already laying the foundation now on the City Council with the ordinance that I just proposed, but a part of neighborhood revitalization is making it easier for businesses to open up shop. I'm also going to focus more on neighborhood infrastructure, whether it's sidewalk repairs, alley cleaning, dead and dangerous trees, access to home repair grants. All of these things impact the overall quality of life in our neighborhoods, and it's something that I hear all the time from our residents.
Education is technically not under the purview of the mayor of Detroit. That's up to the superintendent, but it's a key issue.
Oh my gosh.
Would you like the mayor's office to play a bigger role in education? And if so, what would that be? Without
a doubt. I am extremely excited about the conversations that I've been having around how the mayor's office can be a greater partner in education. Without a doubt, Detroit's future rests upon us fixing our educational system so that our youth have the best quality education that they deserve. And so yes, our office will be a partner. We are going to ensure that we have a liaison working directly with the school system on the day-to-day basis. And we're going to form a coalition, as I've stated before, with DPSCD and Charter and other educational entities that will come together and measure the outcomes of our children. To answer your question, yes, the mayor must be involved. We have to have a stronger partnership, and there must be more accountability, collaboration, and communication. And we are excited to ensure that we're greater partners in the growth of our children as it relates to education.
If elected, you would be moving from the legislative branch to the executive branch. What do you envision is your relationship as chief executive officer with the legislative branch? Because we've seen everything. During my tenure, we've seen times when they didn't get along, and then we've seen times in which they got along, certainly publicly. They may have had their fights behind the scenes, but it didn't get in front of the cameras, and then they would come out as a united front.
Yeah, well, serving as a council president and as a council member, it did give me a very healthy understanding of the need to have checks and balance. And so I respect the role of the city council. But I think the most important thing is that we have collaboration, that we have teamwork, that we're able to work together in a productive way, that is not adversarial, we're not bickering and shouting and arguing back and forth in a public standpoint, but that if we disagree in a way that we can still find common ground to move forward. So I envision my office working with the council the same way the mayor does now. And that is a way where we can find common ground, we can work collaboratively and ensure that the progress of Detroit is moving forward. But I do anticipate there will be pushback, there will be times where the council challenges me, and that is their job. That is what we are here to do. We are the checks and the balance, but it can be done in a way that is still collaborative, in a way that still ensures that Detroit is moving forward in a positive
You can
direction.
agree to disagree, but
Always.
not embarrass the city.
Always.
Final question. In the long history of this city, the voters have never seen fit to elect a female as mayor of this city. If elected to that position, whether that's important to you or not, it will be history making for this city. What will that mean, and not just to you personally, but what potentially does it mean in terms of the city and your vision and maybe the governing of this city?
Yeah. Not only would I be the first woman mayor of Detroit, but I do believe deep down that I'm the right person at the right time for this job. With the experience that I bring over a decade serving on the city council, the partnerships that I've been able to forge to deliver and improve the quality of life for our residents, the relationships that I've intentionally built over the years, and having such a huge track record of progress, of moving the city forward is unmatched. And so this is a great opportunity in our over 300-year history of Detroit being in existence to have a woman mayor, to show that we are capable of leading, that we can bring both the experience, the compassion, the integrity to lead Detroit. And I'm excited about what this will mean for generations to come, to be able to follow behind, to see themselves in me, that they can do it as well too.
Well, Council President, we'll see what the voters do in the primary and see if they give you that opportunity. Thanks so much for coming in. Got a lot more questions. We'll do it next time down the road.
Next time.
All right, thank you so much. And with Spotlight returns, we'll look at some interesting numbers with Lansing poster Bernie Porn. We'll be right back. Bernie Porn, thanks for joining me today on Spotlight. Always good seeing you. In your most recent polling, would it be safe to say that the mood of Michigan is don't mess with Medicaid and don't make too many major changes that could affect the economy from a negative point of view?
You're absolutely correct, and people are worried about not only the Medicaid cuts, but also about the tariffs that Trump has suggested, and his other actions that voters in Michigan are concerned will have a negative impact on the economy and cause a loss of jobs, as well as increased prices for everything from what they buy in the grocery store to the greatest concern, I think, about the increased cost of automobiles, whether you're talking about new automobiles or used ones.
On Medicaid, does that cut across political lines, Democrats, Republicans, independents, whether people are personally on Medicaid or they know someone that is on Medicaid?
Well, 39% of Michigan households in the survey of likely gubernatorial election voters say that they or someone in their household gets Medicaid. And so when you have 4 out of 10 getting Medicaid, they're very concerned about cuts, and they think that the cuts are more about reducing the federal government spending. Only 11% say it's about improving the program that works for people. And 29%, when we asked, do you want Congress to increase spending on Medicaid, decrease spending, or keep it about the same? 29% of Michigan voters said increase spending on Medicaid. Only 11% said decrease, and 54% said keep it about the same. And that is true even among Republicans. 73% said keep it about the same or increase it.
President Trump, in your latest poll, gets his highest numbers for immigration. People, you summarize it.
On immigration, he gets his strongest numbers, but that's tied at 49-49. So that's not a plus for him. He gets very high negative numbers among Democrats and higher negative numbers among independent voters than the overall numbers. It is among Republicans on immigration that he gets 93% support on his position on immigration. So it's mostly Republicans that are supporting him, and Republicans are supportive of him on mostly all of his policies, and that's why I think you're seeing hesitancy on the part of Republicans in Congress to challenge him, because they know that he is supported by his Republican base.
You've been polling for a long time. Have you seen this degree of partisanship between the major political parties?
Never in my life have I seen this degree of partisanship. It used to be in my former life. I worked for just under 20 years in the legislature, and you had Democrats and Republicans rooming together who worked in the legislature, and you will not see that now. It has become so partisan and divisive, and both sides really look at how they can be negative toward the other side. And there's not a willingness to work together on issues, but the public, voters, want Democrats and independents and Republicans to work together to solve problems.
When we come back, we'll look at how the mood of Michigan is as it relates to the current governor, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and we'll look at some recent numbers that you did in terms for Mirror's news agency in terms of the leadership quadrant there in Lansing. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, how are her numbers right now?
Well, her numbers in our poll were 54% on a favorable rating. Now, favorability is whether they like or dislike the politician, and in this case, her numbers have been consistent for the last several months in polling, usually between 52 and 54% in favorable ratings as well as job rating. And it's seldom that you see a politician where the numbers for favorability and job rating are in sync. But that has been the case with Governor Whitmer for the last several months. She has not varied from that at all. And unlike even back to like Milliken, he had a high favorability number, less of a positive job rating number. Engler had a higher job rating number than he had a favorability number.
As you look back on her 8 years, what do you think has attributed to her favorable numbers now?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with when the Democrats controlled all three branches, the House, Senate, and the governor's office. Democrats accomplished a great deal that people were supportive of, whether it was some of the gun rights legislation or other legislation that people were very supportive of. And so I thought that that had a lot to do with how she was viewed. And now, for the first time in her period, in her tenure, while you've got Republicans in control of the Michigan House, and so now you've got more of a combative situation. Although I think both Hall and Whitmer have been trying to work together more than I think a lot of people expected them to.
So they've found some areas in which they can work together, even though they're still trying to figure out how they're going to balance this budget and come up with a road funding plan.
Well, and her plan would require a tax increase. His would not, but I think there's support for both of them, especially given the type of tax increase that Whitmer is supporting. People are willing to have corporations pay higher taxes, and also wealthy individuals pay higher taxes.
All right, break down these numbers as it relates to the leadership quadrant there in Lansing. We've seen a real flip-flop in numbers from a year or so ago to where they are now, and the only one getting some positive numbers in terms of favorability is the new Speaker of the House, Matt Hall.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he has been holding weekly press conferences and being very, very visible, much more so than any of the speakers that I worked for, which were 4 of them during my almost 20 years. And he has a 60% positive job rating, 26% excellent, 40% negative, 20% poor. At the same time, Whitmer has 53%, and this is in the MERS survey, and her numbers in that survey almost reflect exactly where she is at among all voters. Now, other leaders, Garland Gilchrist has a negative number, whereas in the 23 survey, he had 64% positive. Whitmer had 66% positive. And Hall had 42% positive in 2023, but now is at 60%. And I think you can attribute that to his visibility and his activity as a speaker, which is, I think, uncommon for the past speakers that you have seen.
All right.
And Puri is at 68% negative. We have not tested him before. Winnie Brinks was at 69% positive, the most positive, and now she's at 59% negative. And Nesbitt was at 56% positive, now at 52% negative. So you have Hall getting very high numbers, Whitmer getting less high numbers than what she had in the previous survey. And again, these are folks who work in the legislature, staffers, executive office, as well as lobbyists. And one of the things that we did in this survey is to make sure that if we're asking a question about multi-client lobbyist, we only let one vote from that organization count, so that there wasn't any ballot stuffing.
All right, clearly that's something for us to watch as they wind down this year and see where it all ends up by the end of the year, or at least before they're supposed to pass that budget by October 1. Bernie Porn, thanks so much for joining us today on Spotlight. Always good talking to you. Stay safe. Our thanks to Bernie Porn and Mary Sheffield today. In the weeks to come, we'll sit down with the other Detroit mayoral candidates. I'm Chuck Stokes. Have a great week.